You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers.
All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Doing a little bit different intro this time because this is the Ask Sweetwater segment for March. And right now we have Sweetwater sales engineer Kevin Spundy on the phone, and he likes to go by Spundy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Just straight Spundy?
Yes, sir.
That's what Natalie told me. All right. So we had a bunch of questions come in, and Kevin's been at Sweetwater for a while. Why don't you give us a little brief story about your musical journey, how you ended up at Sweetwater, and we'll ask this question here.
Yeah, lifelong musician, went to college at University of Miami for music business and songwriting, and been at Sweetwater for just over 5 years. A lot of my stuff I do now is gigging out with cover bands. So I am the guy that owns the entire PA system of my cover band. And I also play bass and sing all the backing vocals. And then as well as working at Sweetwater in sales as a sales engineer, I also help out our marketing department a fair amount with content for video stuff for bass guitar. And I also teach the new sales folks about bass gear. So I teach a couple of our Sweetwater University classes on bass guitars and then just bass amps and bass pedals and stuff.
Perfect. We've been doing a lot more bass content on the podcast, so the timing is interesting. But
good.
Anyway, so we scrolled through all the questions, and we ended up settling on one that I think is kind of good for whoever's listening, because it might surprise you to find out. I'm starting to discover there's a lot of non-guitar players that listen to the podcast, actually, like Natalie, who orchestrated this whole thing. So
yeah.
This might be a good general question for anyone who's interested in audio. So the question is, I need an upgrade from my 5-inch studio monitors. What do you recommend? And that was sent to us from Sonia Quartzleaf.
So for studio monitors, a lot of times this question pops up with customers, and they might say, well, I spent $300 on a pair of 5-inch studio monitors, and now I have $400. I want to get an 8-inch pair of monitors. And bigger isn't really better. You need bigger speakers for maybe a bigger room, or if you need just louder speakers. Like for me, what I'm usually doing in my home studio is I'm practicing along with tracks, or I'm tracking myself. I've got a wooden ear, so I'm not like usually doing any like complex mixing. So what I do is I have bigger monitors in my room for my space. I've got 7-inch monitors, even though I'd probably be fine with 5s, but I'm usually cranking them. So what you got to look at is if you have, $300 set of 5-inch monitors, a $400 set of 8-inch monitors isn't an upgrade unless you're moving into a bigger room or something. So that's kind of one of the most common things, but I usually look at jumping up 50% about in price to 100% higher in price. So the $600 set of monitors is going to certainly sound better than a $300 set of monitors. Usually it's if you don't really know exactly what you want to look for, if you don't know what you should get at certain price points, call us and talk to your sales engineer, because we probably have opinions for a bunch of different stuff we've tried. We get training on this stuff on a weekly basis. So we're pretty well versed in that. Without knowing the exact price point, though, that somebody has for something, and without knowing what the size of their space is, it's a little bit hard to answer the question. But that is probably a most common type of situation I get if somebody's saying, like, I want better than 5-inch monitors. Bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. You might just need 5-inch monitors for your size room. So, and with that, I usually say about like how many feet are you from the monitors with your listening position. So if you're like 5-6 feet from the monitors at your listening position, then 5-inch monitors are fine. If it's like 8 feet away, then 7 or 8-inch monitors. So an inch equals a foot, sort of in that way, is a decent way to sort of eyeball it, or just by volume. But yeah.
Thanks for that. That was very informative. Now, my last question is, since somebody's going to be winning a $50 Sweetwater gift card, somebody who listens to this podcast, what would you spend $50 on at Sweetwater?
I play bass, so bass strings and stuff like that are super expensive. if I was not working at Sweetwater, if I wasn't in the building every day, I'd probably spend $50 by getting a set of $30 strings and then a $20 pack of picks. But since I'm in the building, if I had a $50 to spend there, I'd probably just get coffee for the next 2 weeks.
All right. That's a solid answer, man. Thanks so much for coming on and answering those questions. And big thanks to Sweetwater for supporting the podcast this month. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Later, man. All right. That was a lot of fun. But it was a little bit of a longer intro than usual, so I'll try to keep this part short and sweet. So the winner of the $50 gift card was Frank Losicero. And if that is you and you have not received an email, check your spam, because you've been contacted already. And if there's some other reason you can't find it, shoot an email to info@tonemob.com and we'll make sure that you get that all taken care of. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode with Ryan Bruce, better known as Fluff, from the YouTube channel Riffs, Beards, and Gear, which are things that you know I'm a big fan of. He's an awesome dude, and this was an awesome conversation, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. And if you haven't checked him out, his links will be in the show notes. All right, on with the show. Let's do it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Ryan Bruce, better known as Fluff. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, dude? How you doing?
Well, as always, I got to pretend like we weren't just talking for 15 minutes beforehand, which is always a weird thing.
Also, in this climate, like, I know that's a standard ask of like, hey, how you doing? Everyone is not doing great.
Right.
You know that. Everyone knows, but, you just feel obligated to be like, oh, I'm good. Like, no one's good.
Right.
No one's good right now.
I mean, I'm relatively good, I should say. It's like my life in this very moment, other than like trying to stay in as much as humanly possible, isn't really that different for me because I just do this all the time. So it hasn't changed that much.
Do you do this full time?
Well, I do this and then I do...
Or more or less full time?
Yeah, I do this and then I do social media stuff for a bunch of different companies. So I'm still isolated.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. For the time being...
Yeah, you're living that life too.
We'll see how that goes, For the time being, that's what I'm doing. Everyone's... exactly.
Yeah.
But before we get too far off the rails, and I'm super down to get off the rails, we probably have some listeners that aren't aware of you and what you do. Well, maybe not. They're all a bunch of gear nerds, so maybe that's not true. But maybe we selfishly, because I would like to know, dig into your backstory. All of a sudden, I just found this guy calling himself Fluff on YouTube one day, and I was like, wow, this is rad. But I don't know how you got there. So what's your origin story?
The origin story is I started playing guitar in summer of 94 and was delivering newspapers, and I was like almost 14 years old. I start playing guitar and I get really into I was a grunge kid. It's the Seattle area. I'm from the Northwest. And I was a super grunge kid, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. I was like, the flannel wearing kid. I was the perfect age for that stuff. Mm-hmm. And from there, I got into Fat Wreck and Epitaph punk rock. And then I got into like pretty political punk rock. And then I had my daughter at age 20. And I kind of had to quickly shift from being a crazy party animal kid to a full-fledged adult. Lost all my friends. Went and got a job turning wrenches and working on cars for most of my 20s. And then I went to Boeing and got married and all that stuff. And the YouTube thing kind of started in really late 2010, early 2011. And I just made a comparison video for a couple of different mics, a Shure SM57 and an Audix i5, as a way to just kind of kill time and boredom at home. And I did it for a couple years, and it did some cool stuff. I was able to do cool stuff, and I started working with just a few companies, and then I ended up getting fired from Boeing unexpectedly in 2015, and then a month later, I got divorced, and I figured, well, if I've lost everything, I'm going to go ahead and just really put all my chips in one basket to do something that I actually enjoy doing, which was the YouTube thing. And I cashed out my retirement fund of $50,000 and lived off of that for about a year. And it was after taxes and fees and heavy early withdrawal penalties. It ended up only being like $30,000.
I was going to say, like, it wasn't 50 grand by the time you got to it, I'm sure.
No, it was not 50 grand. It was closer to like 25. But I lived off of that 25 grand for about a year, and I was able to still make the mortgage because I had a house. I was suddenly in this big ass house by myself with the dogs, and I had nothing to do than make videos and do guitar nerdy stuff and be in my band I had just started at the time, and that was it. And it was a really weird transition, and I just figured if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail at doing something I love, and I'm still waiting for it to fail. It hasn't quite failed yet, but
right.
You never know. There's always tomorrow.
Seems like it's been an upward trajectory generally, like pretty steady.
Generally
ascent.
speaking, yeah. There's been some huge steps. The earliest step was, I'm an audio engineer and I like mixing stuff, and I met this random YouTuber guy. He was kind of small, but I thought he had an insane amount of subs at the time. He had 30,000 subs on YouTube, and he reached out and he saw one of his fans sent him one of my videos, and he said, "Hey man, this guy's stuff sounds really good. You should get him to mix your audio." And he shot me an email and he said, "Hey, my name's Rob Scallon, and I make these really weird, quirky videos, and I hate mixing and I hate doing audio stuff, and I want to be creative. Do you want to mix my audio for me?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, NAMM's right around the corner. Are you coming to NAMM?" And he was. So we met over a beer, and he agreed to have me mix his audio, and he couldn't afford to pay me. So he instead, what worked out is instead of paying me, he would just shout me out at the end of a video saying I mixed it, and he'd link me in the comment or in the description box. He would link to my channel, and the first thing we did was metal in inappropriate places, and then I think the second video we did was like Slayer banjo, Raining Blood, and on banjo, and both those went super viral immediately. And because of that deal we worked out, everyone was starting to come and check me out too as a result, and my shit blew up, and it was good. It was wild. And then in 2015 was the turning point of doing it full time. I hadn't done it full time up until that point. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, 2015 is really when it started. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So one of the things I like to talk to people, like especially like other content creators and stuff about, is like doing this stuff is, I've told my audience this a million times, that it's not like what it seems. Like, what are some of the biggest things that people don't know about what you do? What do people assume, but it is not actually the case?
I think people assume they use maybe a 1950s way of thinking about content creators. They think we're one and the same as someone who has their own TV show, or someone that has, I don't know, support in any other way. Like, the assumption is always you're making so much money. There's tons and tons and tons of money, A. And B, there's always the negative people that, think, oh, companies are paying you to say that, or I don't know, just ridiculous things like that. When the fact of the matter is, there has never been so little money in the music industry than right now. It's not gaming, for example.
Right.
And budgets and marketing budgets and artist relations budgets are so small. Really, the situation is, hey, we have this thing. If you think it's cool, do you want to check it out and put it on your channel? And normally it's yes or no. And they send it, and that's it. What I do with it is totally up to me, and what I say is totally up to me. But I think the huge misconception is like we're just swimming in money. Like, I think I have 345,000 subs, and I think it's like 57 million views or something like that, or I don't even know what it is. I'm not really a numbers guy, but it's only been in the last, 2 years that I didn't have to have a side job. And previous side jobs were, artist relations for other gear companies, but I've only been just doing YouTube for about a year and a half. Because, I never ever talk about money. I hate talking about money because I think it takes away from the content. But like, as an example, my ad revenue from YouTube is I'm netting like $4,000 a month. Like,
right.
That's not a ton.
No,
but
especially
I don't
not
have any
in
overhead.
the Pacific Northwest.
No, I don't have to drive anywhere. I get to stay home. My commute is to my coffee maker. And so that allows you, if you put in the work, to just kind of self-sustain and just kind of get by. And that's totally fine. My goal was never ever to do this full time. That was a pipe dream. So the fact that I get to do it is amazing.
Yeah, and it is a lot of work, and that's the other thing. Like, if I'm being paid to tell people about something, it's at the sponsorships at the top of the episode, and it's pretty clear this episode is sponsored by so-and-so. Otherwise, whatever I say about something is exactly how I feel about it. And I think that's a big, big one that I think my people get pretty well because, this is a smaller, like, tight-knit community that has me in their head, for hours at a time in some cases. And so they know me, and I think they understand that, like, this is genuine. Like, when I talk about Benson amps all the time, but that's because I really genuinely love what Chris does, and I have a couple of them. I have 3 of them, and that's because I love them, and I paid for them. So, like...
Right. Yeah. And, the same goes with the podcast, right? Like, you didn't start a podcast to make money. No one does anything in the music industry specifically to make money, because that's a very, very poor decision you're making if that is the case. Like, no one, when I started for the Guitar Nerd thing, I only started it out of frustration and anger that I wasn't seeing the videos that I wanted to see. I would ask guys that were showing themselves, for example, reamping. I don't know if your listeners would know what reamping is. I'm sure they do. You guys get pretty nerdy on here, but
oh yeah.
I wrote this guy on how to reamp, and he said, I would rather not give my secrets up. And I thought, God forbid I get to sound good too. Like, why is sounding good so monopolized? And I wanted to be that anti-monopolization guy. Like, I was like, man, I'm gonna learn everything, and then I'm gonna tell everyone for free. That was my motivation. So.
Well, and that's such a I've heard that before too. I've heard people say, like, I don't want to, like, give away for free the thing that I had to pay to learn, and I can kind of understand that. Like, I get that mindset to a degree, because it's like I had to pay for it, but at the same time, it's like that's just not the world we really live in anymore. It's you can learn anything and everything, and if it's not going to be you that tells people how to do it, it's going to be somebody else. So you might as well throw your opinion out there if you really have one and really want to share it. Don't be scared of giving away things for free. I mean, that is the world we live in these days.
Yeah, I think it is a confidence thing and being comfortable with what you do as well. I would challenge anyone to come into my actual studio that I work out of, having all the same tools I do, and to kick out the same thing that I do, because they can't.
Right.
And so therefore, the knowledge surrounding all that stuff should be readily available, and giving back and teaching people the skills to do what they want is the only way everything is going to progress forward. and as a whole. So, oh no, your YouTube videos are going to sound great too. Oh no, yeah, that's such a terrible thing. Like, no, it's great. I want everyone to sound good. I don't know, because I hate watching bad sounding videos. So, it's partially selfish motivation, but everyone should sound good. Everyone deserves to sound great.
That's true. And this day and age, there's almost no reason why everyone can't. Like, there's so many good tools available that aren't $1 million like they used to be. It's just it's a wonderful thing. Like, as much as we like, oh, there's not as much money in the music industry anymore. Like, that is true, but also it's like, in some ways, it's never been a better time to be a creator with the amount of tools we have available and ability to learn.
So many
them.
tools.
But you also, we haven't really talked about this yet. We've talked about YouTube quite a bit, but you're also in a band called Dragged Under, who is managed by our mutual friend Joey, who's been on the show before.
Yeah. It's Joey, dude. I love few people as much as I love Joey. Joey is such a dude. He has this saying that I have adopted, but when I first met him, he was so nice. And I was just like, dude, why are you so nice? And he was like, be a dude and prosper. And I was like, yeah, I'm with that. I'm totally with that. So, I'm in Dragged Under, and we started out of the ashes of another band I was in called Rest Repose. And we went to the studio as Rest Repose, in fact, and cut the first 4 songs of what would become the Dragged Under record. And most of the band quit, and we were kind of left in the studio, to our own devices. We had our producer Hiram come up to kind of help guide us into, because we knew we wanted a different sound. We wanted a more live show driven sound. And we had these demos that we were super, super proud of. And we just sent them to all of our friends. And one of those friends was Joey. And, The Used, I'm a mega, mega Used fan. And to be able to send demos and songs and music to the guitar player of The Used, and then have him go, hey guys, check this out, which is what happened, was just incredible. And we sent them to a bunch of people, and Joey texted me back, and he was like, dude, these are like really good. This, like, the music's really, really good. These songs are so catchy. Let me help you. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I don't like to use the word management because you are in control of your own destiny, but let me help you. Let me be that shoulder that that outside person that you can bounce stuff on. And ultimately it turned into a full tilt management thing. But at the time, he was just helping us out because he liked the music that he was hearing. And Bert was the one that suggested we just start over. Bert, the singer of The Used, was the one that suggested we just ditch Rest Repose and start all over. And so we just formed a totally new band and started from the ground up. And Joey's been there from the very beginning, and he's been such a source of inspiration and guidance for us. I can't even stress that enough. He's so amazing.
Yeah, he's.
So when we just got back from tour with The Used, we were on tour with The Used for 6 weeks or something like that, and it was amazing and one of the highlights of my entire life for sure. And Joey's the dude, man. Love Joey.
Yeah, he's amazing. His episode was so cool too, and it was funny to talk to him because he I'm a massive Thrice fan, and so is he. And so we nerded out about Thrice the whole time. And it was a great time. But he's so cool. I hope to get to meet him in person one day. We were supposed to try to on that tour, but he had to hang out with his wife instead. It was weird. I mean, I can't even, who would do that?
Dude, honestly, I would choose you over. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. If you're listening, I'm really sorry. I don't mean that, honey.
It was on the Portland stop. He was like, "Oh, my wife's coming in that day." I'm like, go hang out with your wife, obviously. Duh.
All good.
But yeah, one of these times, let's see, you and I have some mutual background similarities, which I did not know. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I also am in the Pacific Northwest, just a few years younger, but I came up with, first hearing grunge stuff on the radio and like, oh, this Nirvana thing's pretty cool. And so it was kind of interesting. And then like I was a heavy equipment mechanic for a long time. And so it's like, oh, this is all an interesting.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. I worked at the Caterpillar dealer for a long time, and I worked on dump trucks and all that stuff for
wow,
8 years or so. So yeah, it was hanging upside down in excavators covered in grease. It was a good time. It wasn't that good of a time.
Oh yeah. No, you know the grind.
Yeah, it's funny when I hear these like similar trajectories, and now we're here, which is a weird place to be, but I'm super thankful for it, and it's because of whoever's listening to this right now. Quite literally, that's why I get to do this. So thank you for listening to this, whoever you are.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for listening. You
right now. You, this person.
You. No, not you. You.
Yeah.
Yeah, you, Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's someone named Jacob and going, whoa.
I guarantee you there's a Jacob. I know there's a Dylan. I know there's a Dustin. I know there's a Sonia.
Okay.
I know there's so many. I should just shout out all
Thanks,
my
Sonia.
Patreons. Yeah, Sonia rules. She's awesome. Let's see. Anyway, let's see. What else should we get into here? Well, supposedly this is a gear podcast. We should probably talk about your gear and all that stuff. So what are you playing as a rig for the Dragged Under stuff? That's probably the easiest way to start.
The Dragged Under stuff is actually pretty simple. I play a couple of what are basically customized Dustin Kensrue Stingray RSs from Music Man.
Nice.
And I go into a Line 6 Helix rack, and I go out of that into a Matrix power amp, and we send a direct signal to front of house because we have an in-ear system, but we also push a cab. We also push cabs just for a little bit of ambient reinforcement of what we're hearing in the in-ears to get some air moving. So we go into an Orange 212, and that is literally the entire live rig. Sennheiser wireless stuff. Sennheiser is very, very good to us, good friends, and they've been very, very supportive. Line 6 is incredibly supportive of us, and Music Man, Ernie Ball Music Man, are the most roadworthy, best, awesomest guitars ever. We just absolutely thrashed them on this last tour, and couldn't believe how they held up. Any less guitars would have just crumbled and left us by the side of the road, but we were shocked every single day with the gear, and it was all so reliable and so awesome. We didn't have any hiccups. It was great.
Do you have any reason for going with the Helix rack versus the floor?
Yes. When a few years ago, so initially the transition started when I was playing Orange amps, and I had this giant road case that the Rock Reverb lived in, and then I was using 4-cable method with the Helix for all the effects and channel switching. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the floor. I didn't have the Helix floor, but I did have the control, which I still use now to control everything. But we were playing the show, and it was in Utah, and the venue was called the Loading Dock, and it was an old auto garage converted into a live venue, and it was basically outside because the crowd would be sticking halfway outside because they would just roll open the doors, and that was that. The stage was very, very narrow. Well, long story short, this show was nuts, and kids jumping off stages everywhere. Well, an entire bottle of water dumped onto my control.
Ooh.
And shorted it out, and it started like switching channels and stuff. But a lesson I learned is, because when we started doing the Dragged Under thing, I reevaluated my entire setup, and Matt at Line 6 was like, if you want a floor, we'll send you a floor. Like, it would make a lot of sense to just be super, super clean. But then I thought, well, I don't want to run cables back to like the wireless or anything like that. I don't want a pedal board. I don't want, because right now I have a single cable going to my Helix control back to my rack, and that's the only cable that is out. Everything else is totally wireless for my guitar. So if I had spilt that bottle of water on a Helix control, that would have been catastrophic because I would have fried the whole unit. Whereas with the control, if I dump a bottle of water on it, I was able to call line 6 and they overnighted 2 more out in the middle of tour, and I was off and running because the rack is safe behind me.
Right,
So
right.
That was ultimately why I chose the rack.
I was having a flashback to a Lucero show maybe 6 years ago here in Portland, and this dude just, like, we were kind of standing pretty close, and this dude just ran up and had a beer in his hand and just started shaking it over his head. Like, he was having a good time. Like, just shaking it all over the place. And I get it, like, at the time, especially at the time, they were kind of like that drinking band, you know? They've toned down a little bit in the recent years. But, like, and then, like, they just stopped and they were, like, looked at him and they're like, you see all this stuff on the floor? These are electronics. You, like, don't dump beer on our stuff that we need to make the show with, please. Like, that seems like a reasonable thing to ask. And it was just, like, amazing that, like, I don't know, like, people's reactions, you know what I mean? It's very strange. I don't know if people think about, like, how all this stuff works. It's weird.
No, I mean, but I'm torn because as a music fan, I shouldn't have to think about your gear and where you place your gear. But at the same time, I should be respectful to the band's stuff because obviously that stuff costs a lot of money. But if I keep everything back behind me, back by the drums, I don't have to worry about you and I don't have to worry about me. So therefore, I'm going to use the simplest form factor possible and keep it as clean as possible. It's just kind of, I used to have the big pedal board. I used to have this giant pedal board with a bunch of pedals, and I got so tired of, you know, every single night it seemed like something was wrong, whether it was due to like humidity. We did this US tour once, and as soon as we got down to Florida, we had like 4 pedals short out and die because everything was wet from the humidity and the cables were just dying. And it was just like, man, I don't want to do that anymore. That's so stressful. And I try to live my life as stress-free as possible.
Do you save, like, I'm sure, like, you're a gear nerd, like, you save that stuff for the studio mostly, I'm assuming? Or do you go in the full modeling
in the studio,
route?
It's nuts. No, actually, honestly, it depends. Well, live, it's all Helix, but in the studio, it's Fractal, it's Helix, it's Synergy, it's Friedman, it's Angle, it's Orange, it's Mesa Boogie, it's PV stuff. Like, in the studio, I feel like I can always just use whatever guilt-free, because there are a lot of there's a lot of people that watch my stuff that like will get offended if I use something that they don't approve of. There's that ownership, and you know, I understand the ownership of, you know, watching something for years on end when you're in your vulnerable moments, when you're laying in bed in the morning, when you're at the office, when, you know, whatever, when you're making lunch. Like, I understand the ownership of all that stuff, but in the studio, I try to be as free and open as absolutely possible. And it's only the live situation that I try to keep it really controlled.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It is weird how fired up people get about this stuff. Like, I mean, people get really mad about what you're using or what somebody's using. Like, we had a guy in our Facebook group, you know, that basically said we were all morons because not that many of us were using the 4-cable method. And he said, you're all no tone having hacks, and like rage quit the group. And it was just like, well, not everybody needs not every amp has a effects loop. Like, what are you like? What is going on here? It was like one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen.
The thing that infuriated my fans the most is when I switched string brands. I grew up when I was 14, I was 15 years old, and I used to wash both my parents' cars and mow the lawn. And in exchange, my dad would take me to Don's Green River Music in Auburn, Washington, and where my uncle worked. And it was this amazing guitar shop. And I would pick out a couple of packs of Ernie Ball strings as payment. And I have a very, very deep nostalgic family connection because my childhood was very, very chaotic. But it was those moments where it was just me and Dad going to the guitar shop, picking out some strings that is very, very special to me, those memories. So I have a very, very deep affection for Ernie Ball. And when I went from, I think it was clear tone, I was playing clear tone strings for a while. I switched from them to Ernie Ball. People lost their absolute minds. I was getting hate emails. I was getting inbox messages telling me what a huge mistake and how dumb I was, and that they were unsubscribing and no longer watching my stuff because of the string brand that I chose to play on my guitars. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, why do you care what I play? Like, it was crazy to me. But I mean, I love and respect the passion, but I think it can be a little misplaced, and sometimes people don't have enough to do with their time, I suppose.
I guess maybe that is the answer. I'm not sure. That is insane. I mean, like, I have a lot of nostalgic memories of Ernie Ball too, and like I played those strings because that's what the guys in Thrice played when I was growing up. It was like,
yes,
all these different things, all these different reasons. Now I'm like I do work for a company called Stringjoy, who I'm good friends with now. So like I'm not going to be switching because I really believe in what they do. But I understand the nostalgic feeling. It's and I don't think anybody should get mad at people for like that's like getting mad at people for what kind of pants that they want to wear or like the brand of socks they chose for that.
Right.
Day.
That's exactly. You wear Nikes, so therefore I hate you now. Like, what?
You used to wear Adidas.
Oh, man.
You used to wear what I like, and now it's everything's changed. Right. You're a bad person.
Right.
So getting back to some of the gear stuff, like what are some of your favorite pedals right now? You get to try a lot of stuff, and I fortunately get to try a lot of stuff too. But what's really tripping your trigger right now?
Oh man, I've always been super, super into overdrives. I love overdrives, and I spend hours of my day looking at overdrive pedals. I literally just ordered an overdrive this morning from Japan. And I really, really love Tube Screamer based overdrives, and there's a million of them. It's like the most rehashed overdrive circuit on the planet, but I really have been loving, I just got a Way Huge overrated special, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. So Maxon, for the 40th anniversary of the Maxon OD808, did a collaboration between 5 companies that modded the 808 circuit, and they made it limited run. Yeah, I got all of those from Kevin. Kevin at Godlike was so nice. Kevin is just the most amazing dude ever, and he sent over basically all of the Maxon OD808s for me to play with, and I made a video comparing them all. But he was so nice after the video. He didn't make me send them back. He knows how much I love, and I've bought several of them. I already owned several of them already. So he basically just kind of filled in the holes, and I think it's the Earthquaker and the Pictronics modded Maxon OD808 is just lovely. And then there's an overdrive pedal called I think it's the Scranton Drive, and it has a painting of Steve Carell with a do-rag on from The Office, and it's a really, really nice overdrive. I think it's from Emerson, and I don't know, man. I just love overdrives. The Boss SD1 is still super awesome. The Blues Driver, I don't know, man. They're all so good. But I love Maxon's in particular.
Okay. Well, sorry for that, folks. We had if there was some weird timing there, it's because we had a little glitchy connection, but we've swapped connections and are now on a smooth, I don't know, steady path, whatever we're on. But anyway.
Yeah.
Overdrives. Yeah. So you do things differently than I do, because you generally are playing like higher gain amps and things, and I tend to play like cleaner amps and get my dirt from pedals. So tube screamers have not ever really been my jam. I'm more of like a DoD 250,
Okay.
And lots of fuzz type of person. So it's
Sure.
but my amps are ran pretty neutral, so it's a little bit of a different situation.
In this quarantine time, I have actually, so it started with me. I've always been a huge ZZ Top fan, and there's a new documentary on Netflix about ZZ Top, and it is an amazing documentary about the entire history of the band, old footage. I don't know a lot about ZZ Top. I know a lot about Billy Gibbons, but I don't know. But I've never seen old footage of the early days of ZZ Top because video cameras weren't around then, and you just don't see that stuff. But they show lots and lots of cool stuff. Anyway, it was very, very inspiring. And I have, I'm a longtime Les Paul lover. I love Gibson Les Pauls.
Same.
Like I like my feet. You know what I mean? Like I just love them so much. And I recently got a 2019 50s standard and a 2019 60s standard. And I got just recently, Orange sent me, I got to do this video on this Tremlord.
Oh, yeah.
It's this all-tube combo amp. And it's just a clean tone with tremolo and a really nice reverb. And at night, when I'm kind of winding down, I plug that Les Paul into that combo, hit the neck pickup, and it's just awesome. And I feel like I'm turning a page from the chugga chugga stuff that I'm more known for, and that I love playing. That's just kind of where I'm from. But man, there's absolutely a place for getting a dirt pedal into a clean amp and just kind of going for it. It's so cool and so fresh for me. I don't know. I'm really loving that combination. Who would have thought a British tube amp sounded good with a Les Paul? I think this combination is going to catch on.
No ways.
I know. Can you believe that? Yeah. No. Seriously. You should try it sometime.
Huh. I guess that might be. Seems a little out there. Honestly, I've never heard of that.
I know,
before.
but try it. Just try it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a longtime Les Paul guy too. It's I don't know. It was just like I felt like growing up, all of my favorite guys, not exclusively, but a lot of them played Les Pauls, and I just always wanted a Les Paul. I always wanted a white Les Paul, a Les Paul custom, because of Frank from My Chemical Romance, and then a bunch of hardcore guys were playing those, and I finally got one a couple years ago, and I just love it so much.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm looking back at it longingly right now. It's just so yummy.
I have a funny white Les Paul custom story.
Okay.
It's not funny, it's kind of sad. But so I ordered one, a brand new one, early last year, from the Gibson Custom Shop, Alpine White. I think I even ordered it slightly aged, like the white was going to be a slightly yellow.
Oh man, that.
And a long time went by, like a really long time went by, and it came back that they had actually had some contamination in the paint booth, and they had a batch of white Les Paul Customs that had like dust flecks in the paint.
Oh no.
And one of those was mine.
Ugh.
And so it was going to be, and so basically you get put on a rack for redo, and they have to strip it and they have to repaint it, and they were having just all sorts of problems with the paint booth. And I ended up canceling the order because they were like, it's going to be like another 8 months for you to get this guitar. And I was just like, you know what? Never mind. But in that, I found this 60 standard. We were recording the record, the Dragged Under record, and we had a break. We had like, someone had to go somewhere for something. I can't even remember what it was. So me and Josh had like 3 hours to kill. And the guitar store in Seattle, which is one of my favorite guitar stores up here, my buddy James owns it. Like, let's go say hi to James and hang out and play some guitars for a couple hours and have some lunch. And I played this Les Paul, not intending to walk out with a guitar, and I walked out with that guitar. It had this crazy mojo, and I love it so much. It's this honey burst, or what's it called? Bourbon burst. Mm-hmm. It's like a tobacco burst kind of a thing, and it's just the most incredible guitar, and it just sings. And I instantly wrote like 3 songs with it. It was one of those guitars. I was like, I have to take this home. So I took it home.
Nice.
So, yeah. Well, I love Les Pauls, man. Let's talk about Les Pauls for an hour.
Okay, I could talk about Les Pauls for an hour. I could.
I could too.
I should say though, I almost forgot that I did this because I don't always remember to, but I did plug in the Facebook group that you were coming on, and so I have a few questions for people.
Oh,
or from people,
please.
Rather. So okay. Let's see. Blake Lawson, he wants to know what drew you to the Gibson RD.
So a few years ago, actually, I mean, right around the time Ghost came out, I started playing RDs, and it had nothing to do with Ghost, although they're one of my absolute favorite bands. But I was being a Nirvana fan and an old grunge fan. Back in the day, Chris Novoselic was playing RD basses with Nirvana, mm-hmm. and I had no idea that was a guitar. I didn't know that they made a guitar version because, again, pre-internet, like you just don't know these things. And I saw a black and gold one in, I think it was called the Ultimate Guitar Book back in the 90s, and it was basically a picture book of wild guitars, all sorts of guitars, and it blew my mind. I thought it was because I like the Explorer, but it's a little too pointy for me. And something about that RD shape really resonated with me. And when I finally got to play one in person, I'm not a small guy. I'm a big dude, and most guitars look funny on me. Like, that's why, like, Paul Reed Smith guitars, I have one and I love it. It looks goofy on me because you know what I mean? Like, or like the JP Majesty. I love Music Man. But that guitar looks goofy on me because it's such a small guitar. And here we had, this 13-pound behemoth of a guitar that they only made for 3 years in the 70s. And I was asked what my ultimate dream guitar would be that I've never had on an FAQ Monday on my YouTube channel a few years back, about 2014, I think it was. And I said it was the Gibson RD. I've never owned one. That's my ultimate dream guitar. And someone messaged me and they were like, hey, there's one on locally by you on Craigslist from a guitar collector. I messaged him and he wanted $1,500 for this dead mint 77 RD standard.
Man.
And we met in a parking lot of a Guitar Center in South Center, and the deal was done in the back of a VW bus. And then I got another one to myself as a divorce present, and that was my gig guitar for Rest Repose. That was an artist, a 77 RD artist. And I don't know, man, they're just big, they're clunky, they're unusual, they're massive, and no other guitars sound like them because there's just so much wood to them. And both my guitars weigh 14 pounds.
Oh man, that's gnarly.
They're unbelievable, but they're so hard to haul around, and I don't want to tour with 40-year-old guitars, so I just leave them at home.
Yeah. Piggybacking on that, Andrew Span wants to know, in your opinion, who makes the best reproduction of that right now?
You know what? It's funny. Gibson have tried several times to make an RD, and it's a bummer because I would buy I would buy 6 of them right now if they were actually true to how they used to be, because the one unique thing about the RDs was it's a Gibson with a 25.5-inch scale, which I love and prefer. But all the reissues have a stupid 24 3/4 scale, which the original RDs only had for like the last 6 months of production anyway. And I just, that bugs me. But the Eastwood one is pretty close. I don't know if anyone makes the best. I guess Gibson would make the best one currently. The last one they made was pretty good. It was the Burst. It was the Tobacco Burst one. That was pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, RD shapes. I had a signature guitar for a while with Balaguer guitars, and Balaguer makes the Hyperion. That's kind of a first act Delgado kind of a vibe, but that's very RD-ish as well.
Right. Let's see. Thanks for that. That was good. You're
welcome.
Somebody, let's see. Ryan, whoa, let me make sure I get that last name right. Rowlinson. I think that's right. Ryan Rowlinson wants you to rate/roast my rig, but I don't have a rig. It changes literally every day, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. But I can tell you what I'm playing right now, and or what I played last night, and maybe that'll work for this.
Okay, what'd you play last night?
Okay, so last night I was playing my Millimetric Instruments baritone. I don't know if you've seen them. Right. I don't know if you've seen those or not. They're pretty trippy. Builder out of Canada.
Okay.
It was really simple. Just into a Chase Bliss Dark World and into my Benson Vincent. That's all I was using.
Okay, well, I'm not going to roast you. I don't think I should sit here and make fun of you on your podcast.
Oh, I'm open to it.
Because normally I'm looking at a picture and I'm roasting things about the picture.
Right.
So, okay, well, I will give you one roast. That is an incredibly hipster setup.
Yes.
Did it come with mustache oil and an old school wood pipe? And suspenders for your Appalachian Mountaineer circa 1800?
I will take that because I definitely am a hipster. I admit it.
Okay.
Although I can't grow a mustache, I have the Abe Lincoln beard because I can't grow a proper mustache. So, whatever.
Okay. That's a pretty solid rig though. That sounds like a lot of fun, especially with the baritone.
Yeah, I'm so into the baritone right now.
Love the baritone, man. Love it.
This one's a little shorter. It's a 27-inch scale because I was unsure. Okay. It was my first baritone, and I wasn't really sure how long. I was I have a 27-inch 7-string, and at the time it felt like it was a mile long to me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't anymore. I'm used to it, and so I was like, let's just go with 27 because if we go 28, I feel like it's going to be a stretch. And now I'm like, I wish I would have went a little longer. I would have got used to it. But still, this guitar looks better, though. I think if the neck was too long because of the unusual shape of it, it would look kind of funny if the neck was too long, I think. So probably a good aesthetic choice.
I like 27-inch scale. I have a one-off Music Man Axis baritone that is a 27-inch scale, and it's lovely. So good.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm sure you get this all the time, but I also would like to know the answer to this. Again, I'm butchering people's last names left and right, so apologies to everyone. But Eric Zenhausen asks, how did you get your nickname?
Back in the 90s, I was in this hardcore punk band, and I had bleached hair that I would spike. And we played super fast, and we were very, very angry young men. But we would practice in our drummer's basement whenever his parents would go do their errands for the weekend. And this always was usually about 10 a.m. every Saturday. And for a 19-year-old or 18-year-old, 10 a.m. felt like 4 in the morning for me at the time. And so I wouldn't do anything to my hair. So I would roll out of bed and go to practice. And I basically had this crazy bleached white boy afro kind of a thing.
Okay.
And our other guitar player, Sid, said, it's like a puff. It's like a big fluff. I'm going to start calling you Fluff. And I was like, please don't call me that. And they were like, no, nope, you're Fluff. And instantly, like literally overnight, our entire circle of friends was calling me Fluff, and the name stuck. He later went on to play bass for a band called Sworn Enemy over in New York. But yeah, that's where it came from.
Okay.
Is me not putting stuff in my hair.
All right. Which actually makes like more sense than like any other origin story, probably.
Right.
All right. Let's see. We're getting close. Okay, this is probably what a lot of people listening would like to know. And this is from Eric Amaro, who also does stuff on YouTube. Does a really good job.
Oh, cool.
But he wants to know, what are your tips for creating a successful YouTube channel?
The first tip I would say is do what you find interesting. Do it for you first. For me, the goal was to never. I didn't start out doing things for numbers or money or subs or anything related to that. I just didn't want anyone else to feel like I felt, in that, I just didn't know how to do what I wanted to do. And I just thought that was so unfair. And that's why I did it. If it all went away today, I would still do it. Like, it doesn't, any amount of AdSense money or any perks is totally inconsequential to your love of whatever it is your channel is about, whether it's cooking, gaming, guitar stuff. It just has to be about your passion, because people are so smart these days. They can pick up on, if you're doing it for under false pretenses. So that's the first thing. Really, really mean it. Really care. Be in love with what you're doing. Second is to give it time. I see a lot of younger guys instantly think that, I need more subs. I haven't gotten more subs. I've been doing this 6 months. How long does it take? Kind of a thing. I've been doing this seriously since 2015, but, I've been doing this as a whole for, going on 10 years. So, it doesn't happen. You know what they say, it takes a lifetime to have overnight success.
Of course. Of course.
Always. Also, a really good way to kind of get in the express lane of viewers and exposure to people is collaborating with other people, no matter how big or small. Collaborating with others will open you up to other people's audiences, and if you do it successfully, it will hit big. The example I gave with Rob Scallon, I just did it because I really loved his stuff. I wasn't doing it for subs because, again at the time, he had 30,000 subs, and I think I had 7,000 subs or something like that. And I did it because I just loved it. I was such a huge fan of Rob. Mm-hmm. And he was such a unique guy, and with just these unbelievable ideas. I just wanted to help him be a part of the team. That's my motivation the whole time. So yeah, those three things will help you go far in the world of social media, I think.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. And, coming from me, where I have 380 subscribers on YouTube, I definitely agree. I am an expert. But no, I can agree with all of that stuff, because from the podcast perspective, it doesn't really matter what media channel you're focusing on. It's kind of all the same at the end of the day, as far as like, how do you do something? And I would agree with all of that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's some other stuff in the group, but some people just like to ask silly questions, and I sometimes will ask those, but sometimes I won't. But we are getting down to the last few minutes here of the podcast, and we got some classic questions to go over. But before we do that, this is your chance to like put up a billboard and kind of say whatever you want to say, plug anything you want to plug, or you just got something you want to get off your chest. Now's a good time.
This podcast is awesome. I've enjoyed listening to it for a while now. We listen to it on the road when we're on tour.
Oh, thank you so much.
And Thrice Rules.
Yes.
And Black Star amps are terrible. There we go. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about the Black Star amp thing. Just kidding.
I've never played a Black Star, so I can't comment. But
I mean, a lot of people get great tones with them, so I can't really complain that much.
Sounds good. All right, so here we go. We're getting into the classic questions. So this is the first one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
There's so many good ones.
I know.
Man, I absolutely love Boss pedals. What's the best Boss pedal? I mean, besides the tuner, I really love the tuner, and that's like their most popular, best-selling all-time pedal, apparently, from what they were telling me. I'm gonna have to go for the philosophical answer and say the Boss DS1.
Oh, man, of course.
Because without that pedal, we would have never had Nirvana, and I would have never heard In Bloom and gone, I need to pick up a guitar right now. Mm-hmm. So
I like it.
Yeah, the Boss DS1.
I love the Boss DS1. It sounds
so
good on baritone. You have to not think about like setting it like you would a normal distortion, because you got to back the tone off way further. But I put up a video, probably a year ago now on Instagram, excuse me, where I was like, guess the pedal, because it sounded so good. And people were like, it's a Big Muff, it's a this, it's a that. And then it was like, nope, it's a DS1. And some people were like, I didn't know a DS1 could do that. And I'm like, DS1 rules. And this is it's a black one. It's like a special Guitar Center one.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't, circuit-wise, it's the same. You know, it's nothing about it. It's different. But like, it is just anything that you can go grab DS1. It's not special. They're just cool pedals. So that's all there is to it.
I had a Keeley modded DS1 way back. I mean, over 10 years ago that I loved. It was great, but I had no use for it for my newer stuff, so I got rid of it a long time ago. But I regret getting rid of it.
Well, I'm sure we can talk to Rob. We'll figure that out if you really need another.
Do you know Rob?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What?
Oh yeah, he's been on the show a couple times. He's amazing. I love Rob.
Dude, he's a genius and a legend.
Yes,
is what he is.
Yeah, he's tremendous. His first episode on the podcast, which I actually did re-put out. I don't remember. It was a while ago. I re-put it out into the feed because so many people had said that was their favorite. Now the audio obviously is a little spotty. It's not as good as we are these days. But it was the first time that somebody got like deep on the show, and it was like, oh wow. This podcast is becoming a different thing. You know, he was talking about
that's so cool,
like his addictions and stuff, and it was like, oh, I didn't know we were going to talk about that.
Wow.
So, yeah, go check that one out everyone check that one out if you haven't. It's really, it was a turning point for the podcast in my mind. But
wow,
yeah,
that's cool,
crazy. But okay, last question. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Favorite kind of pizza is a pepperoni and chicken pizza.
Pepperoni and chicken? That's a new one.
Yes. Try it, dude. It's so good.
Like a barbecued chicken or like a...
Nope. Regular chicken breast. Nothing on it with pepperoni. There's something about the meat combination. Oh, it's just heavenly.
That sounds pretty good. You like a thin crust or you thick crust? Where do you go there?
I'm in between. I don't like the Pizza Hut crust. I'm more of a Domino's guy.
Mm-hmm.
or a Little Caesars type of guy. I mean, I'm not saying I like Little Caesars because Little Caesars is garbage, but it's good every once in a while on tour. But
and cheap.
Like Domino's or at home, like DiGiorno or something. But I honestly don't eat pizza ever hardly anymore. But yeah, if I do, it's gonna be pepperoni and chicken.
All right, pepperoni and chicken. Noted. I'll have to try it one of these days.
Dude, do it. You'll thank me.
Okay, will do. Well, thanks so much for doing this. We're right at that hour mark, so this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, thank you for having me, man.
This was great. I wish we could have done it like we planned in person, but social distancing and all. So
I know. Episode 2.
Episode 2, I'll have to have you come down to the shred shed, and then you can rate/roast everything in here and how hipster the entire room is.
I will do it, sir.
So much wood.
All right, I'll do it.
All right. So thanks so much, man. So
all right, dude. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I don't know. I shouldn't call you Fluff. I feel like I should call you Ryan, but I don't know.
You should call me Fluff.
Okay. For Fluff, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right. Was that awesome or what? I thoroughly enjoyed it. So much, in fact, that we went on for more time on Patreon. So if you would like more of this conversation, you can go over to patreon.com/tonemob, and there you will be presented with all kinds of options, which will give you more audio content to your ears every week. And furthermore, it helps support the show, helps keep the lights on, and helps keep everything going. It literally keeps the lights on because the amount of Patreon supporters we have right now literally just pays for my electrical bill. So we've got that going for us. And thank you so much for everyone that is supporting over there and has for so long. It means the world. It really, really does. This is a crazy time, and that is extremely helpful. So, yeah, I think that's it for now. But if you want to share this with a friend, all that good stuff, you know what to do. You've been listening to the show for a while. And if this is your first time, welcome to it. Hope you enjoy it. All right. I'll talk to you next week, folks. Goodbye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.